homie's gonna have to know to press square, circle, triangle, X. And then again, if you're playing, like a CPU game, then when you throw the alley yourself, you're gonna then have to press square, circle, triangle, X to be able to, pick up the alley you've been dunking. So again, as you can tell, there has been a lot of changes to that. If you want to ask me what are some of the dopest ones I know I've ripped, holding L2 to be able to get a quicker release on your jump shot is going to be one I really like. Obviously, being able to hit L2 to prevent bump steals, holding L2 to do slower Euro steps. I'm going to be practicing all that because to me, I want to find out quickly if this is going to be a W or not. Individuals that learn new tech the quickest and is actually OP, you become a better player because you utilize it. The same thing happened with people when it came to rhythm shooting. Individuals that learned rhythm shooting picked it up and they became great because you can use rhythm shooting for every single aspect of cheating. But no, they learn how to master
Things have gotten pretty expensive lately. I need to generate some additional income.
I found data annotation. I can work from my phone. I can work from my computer. I actually have to do things. Yay! You've been considering.
Ever two-night WWE SummerSlam takes place on Saturday and Sunday at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We're going to make some predictions for everything on the card, but we're going to start with some quick hitter picks for matches that I don't know need as much discussion as some of the others. And we're going to start with Tiffany Stratton defending the WWE Women's Championship against Jade Cargill. This has been one where it's kind of like you have two baby faces, it's the best woman win, and to me, everything they've been building towards is for Jade Cargill to get her sort of shining moment as the champion. We've talked about what that could mean for future storylines with Bianca Belair and Naomi, but I think now is probably the time. After Jade won the Queen of the Ring, I think this is probably the opportunity for her to win the championship, have a potential shining moment, her first big sort of defining moment at WWE outside of winning that tournament, and I think she does that here. So I'm going to pick Jade Cargill to beat Tiffany Stratton. The other match that I think seems pretty straightforward, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll against Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Of course, the big story here, whether Drew McIntyre is actually going to be in SummerSlam. You guys saw the video, I'm sure, about McIntyre being stranded in the UK, and all that kind of stuff. So don't really know how this plays out, but I do feel like no matter what, the winner is probably going to be Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Seems kind of counterproductive, I know, for some people, because it's like, well, surely you can have Jelly Roll take the pin here, right? It's WWE, it's a celebrity-driven match. I think it probably is one of those where you want that moment where Orton and Jelly Roll are standing tall at the end to give you kind of all of those photo ops and everything like that. So I'm going to pick Randy Orton and Jelly Roll, whether it's against McIntyre and Paul or against someone else potentially and Logan Paul, even though I'd like to see Drew McIntyre maybe in a better spot here. And I don't think in any scenario is McIntyre taking the pin. We go to night two for another quick hitter pick here, and that is going to be AJ Styles challenging Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. In all honesty, I think since Dominic has won the title, there hasn't been a lot in terms of just, momentum behind these Intercontinental title defenses, right? It's been more about the whole dynamic within Judgment Day, Dominic and Roxanne Perez. I feel like this is a good time doing all the vignettes they did with AJ Styles playing all these different professional roles. I think now is probably the opportunity where you were waiting and waiting for Dominic to finally get cleared and all this other stuff. I think putting the title on Styles makes a lot of sense. It gives you kind of some fresh ideas to work with in terms of matches and all that kind of stuff, especially given, I think, the state of the roster on Raw. So I like the idea of AJ Styles winning the title here, even though I think Dominic is actually the favorite in terms of the betting odds. But I like Styles winning here, and I think you can kind of play into something with Dominic losing, and maybe Roxanne Perez is there with some chicken tenders, and Liv Morgan is not. And how does that play into perhaps Roxanne helping Dominic heal from losing the championship? And then another quick hitter pick here. We're going to go with the TLC match, the six-tag team showdown, as the Wyatt Six will defend those titles in that match against the Street Profits, the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, Traxium, and Andrade and Rey Fenix. Honestly, I think this is one that's pretty wide open. I think that there is a scenario where the Wyatt Six could retain here. I think it's one where you could put the titles on Traxium to give them kind of a potential shining moment here. I don't know necessarily if it goes right back to the Street Profits or if the Motor City Machine Guns get them back. I think DIY is an interesting possibility to have teams maybe chasing them as the heel winners could be a possibility. But I'll tell you, there's something about this Andrade and Rey Fenix team, and I think in a ladder match scenario, I could see WWE leaning into this and really going with the idea that these are guys that they want to get behind. They just did those, vignettes with them where they're kind of really boasting the idea that this is, a tag team and it's kind of a fresh thing. It's not just two random guys paired together. They're kind of out on a mission and a goal. And I think you kind of want to reward Andrade, who's done some pretty good work, I think, since he returned to WWE. He's in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I think Rey Fenix, they obviously have high expectations for him. Eventually you would think he will reunite with Penta, but it's not necessary right now. So I think having Fenix, Andrade, and a tag team, given the match, Rey Fenix can maybe score what may be a bit of an upset win in some people's eyes here. But I think it probably comes down to either them or Fraxton for me getting those opportunities. All right. Now we're going to go into the bigger predictions for the other matches that may need a little bit more time as a whole. Let's start with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss.
Product I would recommend as a 40-year-old fitness trainer. This is the body pod you've probably seen in almost every gym. It uses advanced body analysis to help you build muscle to lose fat and also reverse your metabolic age. How it works is you just step on and it'll scan your whole body in just 20 seconds. I love it because it gives me precise insights and feedback on which areas I need to work on. It allows me to track your progress and stay on course. The app is easy to use. The reason I chose the body pod is because this is 6 times more accurate than Smart Scale. It measures your full body instead of just your bottom half with these handles. If you're on a health program like me or you're thinking of starting one, make sure to get the body pod. 10 out of 10 would recommend this.
Challenging Roxanne Perez.
Really
get them back. I think DIY is an interesting possibility to have teams maybe chasing them as the heel winners.
Let's go. How you living?
I'll tell you, there's something about this Andrade and Rey Fenix team, and I think in a ladder match scenario, I could see WWE leaning into this and really going with the idea that these are guys that they want to get behind. They just did those, vignettes with them where they're kind of really boasting the idea that this is, a tag team and it's kind of a fresh thing. It's not just two random guys on a mission and a goal. And I think you kind of want to reward Andrade. He's done some pretty good work, I think, since he returned to WWE. He was in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I think Rey Fenix, they obviously have high expectations for him. Eventually you would think he will reunite with Penta, but it's not necessary right now. So I think having Fenix and Andrade in a tag team, given the matches they've had so far, I'm going to go with Andrade and Rey Fenix to maybe score what may be a bit of an upset win in some people's eyes here. But I think it probably comes down to either them or Fraxton for me getting those opportunities. All right.
Doing all right. How you living? Appreciate you tuning in early this morning. You're always a supporter. You're always the number one supporter. Appreciate you.
Let's start.
Trying to get to it. Trying to get these
Charlotte
videos
Flair and Alexa Bliss challenging Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez for the women's tag team titles. This really does tie into what we just talked about a little bit with the men's tag team titles on the SmackDown side. And that is a team that has come together and maybe exceeded expectations. When they started this whole thing with Charlotte,
you already know how you living, you know what I'm saying? Up early in the morning, you know what I'm saying? Tuning in, D Blaze Deontay. I appreciate you tuning in, appreciate all the love, you know what I'm saying?
The tag team setting and all that. Are they really going to
Everybody got a problem with you. I ain't playing no games. I smack shit out. I'm sitting back to the grocery store for a pack of Newports. I ain't playing no games. I'm going to be zeal.
Together. And I know there were some rumors out there. The original plan was to have these two in a singles match.
And that's what any of the supporters that support.
And you go with that.
Any of the supporters that support you, feel me on TV. Shout out CC. Bond, shout out my nigga Will. Smith, Deontay. You know what the fuck's going down. When you see your real homie, acknowledge me.
I just don't think that's a good idea. I think you got to work. And maybe that's kind of what the Andrade Rey Fenix thing. It's working, and this is working to a much bigger extent. And I think you have to go with this idea that the crowd will cheer Charlotte just as they did at Evolution. Alexa is helping that dynamic, and you're facing these two heels who are part of, one of the top heel factions in the company. I think this is a absolute no-brainer pick. I think Charlotte and Alexa win the championships here. I think they have to, and I think that will do wonders for kind of the state of where the tag team titles are right now. There's nothing against, what Roxanne and Raquel have been doing with Liv Morgan's absence. It's worked pretty well. But I think this gives that tag team division a little bit something extra by having these two. Remember, too, that also gives them the idea where they can go to Raw and, be on SmackDown and all that. So I like having these two with the titles. And to me, this feels like, I don't say the most predictable one on the card, because I don't think predictable is the right word. I think it's the best choice on the card in terms of like really your hard argument as to why one person should win or the other person should win. I think Charlotte and Alexa need to win the titles here. I hope it's not a scenario where one turns on the other. I just don't like that. I think they need to stay together because I think it benefits both of them right now. So give me Charlotte and Alexa winning the championships. All right. I go down the card here. Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross. A matchup that we know is going to be kind of part 3 in their trilogy here. Zayn won the first one, Karrion Kross won the second one, and now this seems like the blow-off match. You've probably also seen the teasers from Karrion Kross on his social media, which seem to really hint at the idea that he may be done with WWE after SummerSlam. And, you know, I was thinking about this.
Yeah,
like,
NBA Live was
going
18, 19.
a lot of things right now. I'm sure there's something else we'll mention in a minute that ties into that. But I think with Karrion Kross, it's one where if this is sort of the end for him at WWE right now, I mean,
Karrion
I
Kross
think
is ass,
kind of
bro. I don't know why I keep trying to push that nigga.
Personally, it is something where you have raised your stock so much that no matter what happens, right, you're going to probably be in a position where you're going to have a lot of opportunity. And it does, this, again, seem like that he's kind of hinting at that idea that TikTok stuff and kind of the video with Kevin Sullivan saying how good he was and all this other stuff, and how Kevin Sullivan was basically talking about, you know, what WWE was doing with it. So for him to put something like that out,
ain't nobody already got,
it tells you something. Again, could just be completely working it, but I'm not. Let's get to the other match. There's 2 more matches on night 1. That is Roman Reigns and Jey Uso against Bronson Reed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, how you doing? How you doing?
Against Reigns and Jey.
You got a question?
I mean, I said on the Raw reaction show, I don't know that you could have looked any better if you're Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed coming out of Raw, where they just destroyed Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And I feel like this is an opportunity now for them where, hey, you've kind of shown your strength here. This is a big opportunity to walk in and put on a great match with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. You're in there with 2 of the top stars in WWE. And I think that's probably enough, right? I don't think they necessarily need to win because I think there is an idea that eventually you do that Braun Breaker Roman Reigns match. Maybe that is where Braun Breaker gets sort of a career-defining win over Reigns in a one-on-one setting. I think this is another one that feels pretty clear as to what they're going to head in. The super team of Reigns and Jey. Jay's coming off of losing a world championship. He kind of needs to stay in that top level. I don't think you have him lose here. And it's Roman Reigns. Right?
Yeah, I played it. It all depends on which one you're talking about.
It would have been Reigns versus Breaker. It would have been, maybe Reigns versus Rollins or something. You could have seen Reigns losing again in that scenario potentially, but in a tag team match, just don't see it. I think this is probably. A Roman Reigns Jey Uso victory, but I think the bigger story coming out of it is how does this look for Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and do we get a little bit closer at some point later this year, maybe a WrestleMania match next year with Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker? I think that makes sense. All right. The main event, I would assume, I think they've announced that. Look, I said this is really about the best in the world versus the best in the world, right? That's how Punk sort of tried to phrase it in his promo on Raw. And while this should be a really good match, it's one that I think we've been waiting to get to for a while now, the whole story here is going to be Seth Rollins. And I think, to me, I'm going to stick with that the prediction involves Seth Rollins being here in some way and him potentially cashing in on either Punk or Gunther. I think that's the story. And I know we still are going back and forth on is it real, is it not real, all that stuff. But I think, like I mentioned, the fact that they've kept his name sort of in these segments and you've had Heyman reiterate multiple times that Rollins will be out for an extended amount of time. I think that was on purpose. I think that was to lead us astray, to make us just kind of look at it as a throwaway line where, all right, yep, Rollins going to be out for a bit. And then we're just not even prepared whenever this guy shows up. And maybe it is a scenario where Punk wins and Rollins is there to ruin his moment. Or maybe Punk is near victory, Rollins is there, ruins the moment, still cashes in and wins the title. The only thing...
Man, why would y'all do that?
At this point,
what's the point of that?
It may seem predictable to people who are talking about this all day, every day. But to your casual WWE fan and to, thousands upon thousands of people that are going to be there for SummerSlam, I don't think that the large percentage of that crowd is going to see this necessarily as predictable. Because the way they played it up, as we said, they presented this as a real injury with very few details, and if you don't have those details, you can't question it. And I think that's where we're at. So, even though it feels predictable, my bigger prediction here is that Seth Rollins is going to cash in on someone. I do think that, again, it's predictable, but I'm like,
okay, welcome to the 2K side. Welcome to the 2K side. You feel me? On DD.
Like that, a little shot booster. That may be the way you go, and Punk is celebrating. He's become the champion, but Rollins is there to ruin the day. I think that is kind of where I stand on that. So I'm gonna go with Punk winning the match. I don't really have a strong opinion on that. I could see them going either way on both of these, potential winners, but I do think it is one where I just feel like this is the moment you're setting up for with Seth Rollins, although maybe they're like, you know what, at this point it's too predictable, let's do it on the Raw after or something like that. That's also a potential possibility. But Rollins' whole thing is that he's never going to allow Punk to be the champion. So maybe he doesn't allow him to be the champion, still finds a way to cash in, or maybe Punk does it and Rollins is like, I got to get there to be able to cash in on them. So, all right, more predictions. The triple threat match, the Women's World Championship. Naomi defends against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. And we know they kind of revisited the whole thing with Rhea and Io Sky on Raw this week about how Io's saying, you're never going to beat me. Rhea's saying, I'm going to beat you. Like, at some point, Rhea's got to beat her, right? But I think adding that story in, that rivalry is still a big part of this, while you're also adding in the story of, yes, Naomi cashed in on both of these two at Evolution. My whole thing here is that it just feels way too early if you're going to have that sort of defining moment for Naomi to end what I said I think is the best WWE PLE this year. I don't think you want to just get the title off of her several weeks later. And again, does that make it feel a little too obvious? Perhaps, but I think you want to go into Clash and Paris. Naomi versus Stephanie McCare, I think, is a big match just because you have a clearly defined heel on one side. Although Naomi's going to get a lot of years, I still think, because she's doing such great work. And you've got just this rising superstar in Stephanie McCare. And so I think that's the match. I mean, certainly Stephanie McCare versus Io Sky, we've seen it a couple times now. That's probably not happening. Stephanie McCare versus Rhea Ripley, I mean, that's probably a match. No offense to people going to Clash in Paris, but that's probably a match that would be seen as a bigger PLE type match. Whether that's a WrestleMania, a Royal Rumble, something like that, those are all possibilities, right? So I think Naomi versus McCare is the direction, which means Naomi wins this match. And as I've said many times this year, WWE is hitting a very high percentage on triple threat matches on the women's side this year. And so I think this should be, once again, one of the better matches of the weekend. Will not be shocked at all by that. Given the women's side, is this going to be Becky Lynch defending against Lyra and Valkyria? And I think this is another one of those matches where you've added stipulations, right? Matches that we've seen before. It's a very stipulation-heavy night on night two, as you're going to see from these next couple matches. We've already talked about the tag team match, the ladder match, all that. But this is one where Becky, basically not wanting Lyra to challenge for the title again, and it's Lyra saying, hey, this is going to be anything goes. No count out, no DQ, there must be a winner. And I know all the double turn talk, which I'm sure we'll talk about in just a minute for the main event, is surrounding that match. But I think this is another one where I wouldn't be shocked at all if we get some sort of development like that involving these two, because I do think there is going to be a crowd in East Rutherford, New Jersey, who is going to cheer Becky Lynch and potentially boo Lyra Valkyria. And as Becky said, she's got the bruises to show that, all the kendo stick attacks from Lyra on Raw, and I think there is kind of a possibility when you come out of this with both of those women in different spots. Even though Becky is kind of knocked the fans and all this other stuff, you can easily change that. And so I think this is one where, Lyra maybe takes it to a level because it is no DQ. And this kind of is the theme of the main event too. I'm going to be honest with you. I see some similar dynamics between this match and the main event, but you see her maybe take it to a level that you didn't expect. She didn't said much on Raw. She will take this to a level no one maybe has seen her take it to before. But I think the wild card here is Bayley, because Bayley was very dejected, as we saw on Raw, saying she missed WrestleMania, she missed SummerSlam. So how does Bayley factor into this? We see Bayley make the turn, all those kind of things. I think it's possible, but I think no matter what here, I think Lyra is winning the championship back from Becky, and I think that leads you into a fresh direction for everyone, where maybe the heel Lyra as the champion, maybe Becky goes back into getting into the world championship picture, which I could see, being something that would be very valuable at that point. And so maybe Bayley is also kind of once again factored in here with one of these women coming out of it. So I'm going to go Lyra Valkyria winning the Intercontinental Championship. All right, the steel cage match. Solo Sikoa defends against Jake Fatu, the United States title on the line here. I'll be honest, I don't know about this one. I am pretty not sold on a confident pick, because I think this is one where you're looking at it still. Does Jacob Fatu need the United States title? Not necessarily right. I just don't think it's necessary. I think Solo winning it was not that long ago now. And, maybe it was one where it was made for a better story to have Fatu chase. But the more I think about it, I'm just like, there's so many things you can do with Jacob Fatu coming out of this, but I don't know that he's going to get into the undisputed WWE title picture or anything like that. But I do think this is one where you have all the people on the outside. Tonga, like I said, ripping off the cage door. I can already see that. That's a possibility. Maybe they do that. You've got Tonga Loa, you've got JC, and then, you've got Jimmy Uso, who's probably going to be there with Jacob Fatu. You've got the potential return of Tonga. Like I said, I don't think Jey Uso gets involved here, just based on kind of the story, but you never know. Their match is night one, night two, you never know. But I just, with all the outside elements, I don't really know exactly what to expect here. I think your normal thinking is that Jacob Fatu probably wins this, because it feels like the blow-off match, right? And if that's the case, then Jacob Fatu winning is probably something that makes a lot of sense. So if he does that, where do you go with Silva, right? Because he's just finally won a big match, and now he just loses that quickly. So I am pretty much 50-50 on this match. I think you could tell a lot of different stories. I think you could still be looking ahead and say this could be a War Games match months down the road. I think I will go with Jacob Fatu just because I'm like, steel cage match, blow off, the babyface wins, but man, I don't know. There's just all the outside elements. So yeah, don't take that one as a strong prediction, because I just don't really have one for this match. So I know we're gonna have outside interference, even though it's a cage match, but that's kind of where I stand on this one. I don't. You guys may have a better thought than I do on how you see this playing out. All right, that is going to lead us into the main event. Cody Rhodes.
How to form your LLC? It's called Taylor Lab. Enter your LLC statement, add your business name, answer a question, and that's it. Taylor Brands handles everything for your business. TIN number, license, permits, taxes and bookkeeping, registered agent, all in one platform. So head to Taylor Brands and launch your business today.
This shit lagging bad too.
John Cena, the undisputed WWE Championship. My mind has sort of changed on this match in the past couple years, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. The whole bell turn, as I said, is going to talk about, and if that happens, I think you've got to have rock and ball. The final ball has got to be, he's got to be on there, right? That's pretty much how it's going to go. Speaking of the final ball, if you guys have watched WWE Real yet, yes, I will drop a quick plug. You can hear my voice from our channel here, Wrestling Reaction. Kind of doing a little bit of a voiceover for one of the segments on episode 4, where they're talking.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on 2K Sports. NBA action is coming up. I'm Kevin Harlan alongside Richard Jefferson and Greg Anthony, and with us from the sidelines tonight, David Aldridge. Now the starting group for the visitors. James is out there with Austin Reed. Then there's Davis, then there's Rudy Gay, and it's Adebayo in at the 4-man position. We've got Lou Dort. Rudy Gay is out there with Wallace. Then it's Johnson, and it's Gordon in at the 2 spot. Here we go. Now Dort. To the paint.
maybe like 6-7 minutes into the show, something like that. When The Rock turns around, you get a WrestleOps tweet on the screen. You can hear my voice kind of talking about how there's more questions than answers coming out of that whole segment with The Rock trying to convince Cody to sell his soul. If he factors into this, and to me, it's one of those where usually around this time there's a lot of rumors and all that, but it's eerily quiet about The Rock. And I think that this could be a situation where you kind of make up for what happened at WrestleMania 41. Because clearly they've had a falling out with Travis Scott. Travis Scott's not going to be there. So do you make up for it by having The Rock here? But I said, I don't know if WWE is ready to turn Cody just yet. I do think the fans, at least a good chunk of the fans, could turn Cody on this show one night only. Because I think Cena's going to get a lot of cheers. And to get Cena back to the good side, I think this could be one. Because it's a street fight, Cody, just like he did against Kevin Owens, takes this to a level that you don't expect. Just like I talked about maybe with Lyra and Becky Lynch. I think you could see that where you're like, wait a second, Cody did those things to Kevin Owens. He did it to Randy Orton, took advantage of the back issues, exposed the turnbuckle to win the King of the Ring. And now he's going to do this to John Cena.
I don't know if this is controversial. This is actually, to me, one of the biggest gaps as far as the 1 or 2 for each position. I have Steph Curry clearly better than that. Actually,
trying to find Johnson. He's got it now. That one's in. His first shot this game.
And that'll start us off already. You can feel the tension in this arena.
And sometimes getting that first bucket puts momentum in your corner. But we'll just have to see.
Right there, the defender clearly trying to inhibit a fast break. I think that's a transition take foul. He's getting his first free throw attempt of the game here. And the home team has possession. It's a 3-point game. Johnson with a screen on Reeves. Gordon for 3. And Davis pulls it down.
You got Steph, Jerry, Magic, or Magic.
Adebayo kicks to Davis. Here's James. Eric Gordon grabs the board.
And not allowing the shooter even an inch of breathing room on that one.
I'm sure they'll think twice about shooting against him next time.
Here's James, knocked loose and stolen by Gordon. Nobody neither game. Great look, but off the mark.
You can't look at the result of that shot. They'll take that whenever they get it.
Yeah, it's a great look for him. One they'll try and manufacture again. Those are the shots you want him to take.
Here's Adebayo. And Adebayo throws it down.
Don't take your eyes off Bam. When he comes off the floor, he gets up and the slams are just too big to miss.
Now here's Gordon. Johnson, a wide open look. And that one's on target from the wing. Johnson's got 5.
And if you're the guy who has to guard him, it is never going to be an easy night for you.
James in the post, defended by Dort. James, no good.
And this will be the last possession of the quarter if they're patient.
Yeah, it's all about clock management with these situations. Let's see how it plays out.
Jerry Russ is a pass in defense.
Finds the... Bottom of the bucket from 13 feet out.
And you can expect him to make it when the D is trash like that.
Here's James. No good on the last second attempt there. And that'll do it for the first half. A competitive game so far. Leading by 5. We've got more hoops coming your way in just a moment. Jalen Johnson with a strong contribution so far in this one.
And even with the defense shading towards him on every trip down, he still finds a way to come up big.
He's just that good. You can plan for him, but he just makes great adjustments on the fly.
Checking out the group for Quinn Snyder to start the second half. Rudy Gay is out there with Adebayo. Then it's James. Then it's Austin Reeves. And it's Davis at the center, filling out the middle. There's 48 seconds left to play here in the second half. Outside Gordon. Ball is with the screen on Reed. And there's the whistle on the shot. Took the foul. Shot misses. He'll be shooting 2.
And you don't ever want to get into the habit of letting the offense get to the rim.
It's his first trip to the line. A free throw good from Eric Gordon. All free throws good from Eric Gordon.
Taking full advantage of his opportunities at the line to extend their lead.
Here's James. Rebound by Wallace. With the teardrop, and there's Johnson. That's good on the assist by Wallace. Johnson's got 7 points.
And creating a little separation here, gaining some confidence.
Yeah, they've locked in during this stretch. If they keep it up, their lead will only continue to grow.
Stolen by Gabe. And here we go. Fast break. James has got it. Reeves the pass to James. Doesn't get it to drop for him. Nice defense from George. So the first one drops, and that'll push the lead to double digits.
And Wallace is just an unreal defender. An undersized center who blocks shots and pounds the glass like a madman.
Making no mistakes and putting some extra nails in the coffin right here. That pretty much did.
Both teams will make substitutions. From deep three-point land. Rebound by Wallace.
And that was a little bit of a rage check for him.
Yeah, he might have been feeling himself a little too much on that one. He can hit it, but not consistently.
Here's Mitchell. Pass to Hickson. The kick out to Dumas. Lets it fly. And dead on that time. Beautiful shot.
This is why I love his game. You really have to admire his tenacity.
Leonard against Hickson. And so the home crowd treated to a win. Some good moments throughout this one, but they had a clear advantage down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way they executed on both ends of the floor, completely under control for the vast majority of the game. And whenever there was a misstep, they...
But I do have, like, look at these teams that are there performing. Who do I think a better playoff performer is between those two? I think Jerry West's a better scorer, but I think